The White House is going full steam ahead with their purge of federal agencies, and they announced the next department on the chopping block. Take a look.
How soon do you want the Department of Education to be closed?
Oh, I'd like it to be closed immediately. Look, the Department of Education's a big con job. We're ranked, so they rank the top 40 countries in the world. Norway, Denmark, Sweden. I hate to say it, China, as big as it is, it's ranked in the top 5. And that's a primary competitor. We're ranked number 40. So if we're ranked number 40, that means something's really wrong, right?
We do need to delete entire agencies as opposed to leave part of them behind. If you don't remove the roots of the weed, then it's easy for the weed to grow back. But if you remove the roots of the weed, it doesn't stop weeds from ever growing back, but it makes it harder.
So is completely deleting these agencies and kicking education back to the states, because that's what this means, that's what it means. Is this going to make things run more smoothly? Maybe it will.
First of all, they're lying. He's a liar. The United States is not ranked 40. The United States...
It isn't. What is it ranked, Joy?
Well, the U.S. is ranked up there, better. It's not 40. They just make things up.
We're 29th in the world in math, and we're in the 20s globally.
Yeah, it's not 40.
So it's not 40.
Right. I mean, they get these numbers from Elon Musk's son, the little kid. That's where they're coming up with this stuff. It ranks number 6 in reading, 12 in science, 28 in math. Okay, math's hard, but it's not 40.
Math is hard.
But what happens 40. When they cut, what really bothers me right now, what's really making me crazy, because of the specific, is they're cutting programs for basically poor people, people who are in the minorities, and that's who's going to suffer. Yeah. You have this guy who's worth $1 trillion, this Elon, and he's cutting things from people who need it. It's pathetic, and people should not put up with it.
Can I get in on this? Because, you know, getting rid of the Department of Education is actually the first goal listed in the education section of Project 2025. We were talking about Project 2025. We warned everybody that that was the playbook, and it remains the playbook, and they are playing by that book. It is also the smallest of all the government agencies. So if you get rid of the Department of Education, you really don't have this sort of financial boon that they're telling you that you're gonna have. And I have a clip, because there is a Republican senator, he's from Arizona, his name is Schweikart, and he has emphasized this. Congressman, rather. We have the clip.
Let's get rid of foreign aid. You just covered 1 week of borrowing. Can't tell you how many times I'm at home and people say, if we just didn't have foreign aid, we could balance the budget. It's a week of borrowing. U.S. will waste billions of dollars on the United Nations. Okay, get rid of the United Nations. It's 2 days of borrowing. Don't act like you just balanced the budget by doing something like that. Let's just get rid of the Department of Education salaries. Yay! You covered 9 hours of borrowing.
So you see? Yeah. So it's not really about saving money.
No.
I think there's a much more nefarious reason for it. I think it's because without education, you get cheaper labor. Yeah. I think what they want to do is create in the United States a permanent underclass, a permanent cheap workforce, because educated workers cost more. That is the bottom line, and that's what they're doing.
So I don't agree with wholesale abolishing the Department of Education by any means, but the United States does pay per student more than most developed nations, yet we are falling behind in critical areas, specifically math, which is hard. The STEM fields, it's hard, but the STEM fields are crucial to the next generation economy. So I'm all for looking for ways to actually use resources better to educate our students. I'm not okay with accepting that we aren't the top when we're spending some of the most.
We spend as much as Denmark, pretty much.
Yes, but we spend more per student than most nations do, and we're
we don't pay the teachers, so it doesn't really matter.
We pay a lot on administrative costs.
But he was comparing the United States to the Scandinavian countries that are number 1 and 2 and 3 and 4.
But in general, I think the United States should be the top of education. I think that we should strive for that. I don't think you get there by abolishing it, but streamlining it. Well, but I want to say one thing quickly on this, because this debate over the federal workforce, I think Republicans, especially Elon, are too quick to demonize federal workers. Some of the biggest breakthroughs in national security, public health have come from civil servants. But to Democrats, to act like they're all saints and that this is horrible to get rid of anyone, most people have interacted with the federal government and they think it is too inefficient. It doesn't work. And what I would argue is that most Americans hear about this federal buyout that basically gives you about 8 months paid leave to leave
That's what they say.
They say if that actually comes true, most Americans would never get that in their job, and they would think that's amazing. They also can't relate to civil servants basically being unfireable up to this point. So there is a lot that I'm concerned about and want more answers, but it's not out of step with
That's called
Well, wait, go
throwing
ahead,
the
wait, wait,
baby
Joy,
out.
hold on,
Throwing
hold
the
on.
baby out with the
Joy.
baby
Yeah, but
water.
Joy.
Okay, so what I would say is, kind of echoing some of what you're saying, Alyssa, with people have an issue with government waste. They hear the Department of Education is getting wiped out. To add a little content to that, though, for people that maybe, I'm speaking more to people that might support this idea. Remember that throwing it back to the states has some massive risks in regard to real indoctrinating of your kids. There are some really religious states. I'm a Christian, go to church, love religion, not in my public schools and not in my public institutions. That was a major virtue in the Constitution, separating those two. When you leave this up to states, you've got 50 ways to approach it. There has to be federal oversight on something that is meeting our kids every day at school, and I would never leave that just to the states.
Well, and it is interesting. Can I say one more thing? Donald Trump's education secretary, he did appoint someone, Linda McMahon, is actually on the Hill today and is going to get questioned. So I'm curious to see if she actually says we're going to abolish it or if she's still seeking to be confirmed to that position. But also, Trump did this.
Teaching experience?
She's not a teacher, but it's been held many times by non-educators.
That doesn't matter.
But last
We don't
week,
care.
Donald Trump signed an order regarding Title 19, and it had to do with girls, trans women and girls' sports. That is enforced by the Department of Education. So this, if you did away with DOE, it would invalidate that executive order. So I say that only to say, I'm not sure he's actually getting rid of it wholesale.
Like,
I
it's
think
too
he's trying to
duplicitous
scale
to
it
say
back.
he's
I'm sorry, all of this, money cutting, all this stuff,
It's
I'm
not
sorry. The United States government made a deal with Elon Musk for those cars of his. And what was the price?
$400 million.
$400 million. Cut that out.
He just got that yesterday. He got that money this week.
I realize
For the
he
Tesla
won't,
truck. This
but
week he got
I
it.
just wanted to put that out there because that's a lot of money. We don't know, when do we need tanks?
Yeah, Tesla trucks.
And who said we needed to get these trucks? And why are you getting all this money like this?
And they're
why
a little ugly, too.
Well, you know, but I just wanted to let you know what the Department of Education also does. They're responsible for managing college financial aid and federal student loans. 17 million college students apply for student loans and grants each year. They collect data on colleges and track students' achievements throughout the nation, and that's their report card. They conduct investigations, issue guidance on how civil rights laws are applied, and they send money to U.S. public schools. So basically, you're saying to us, we're on our own. So I say, you know what? Okay, you're gonna kick it back to the schools? You wanna kick it back to the states? Then here's what we need. This is what the state needs, and we don't need it from you. It now comes out of us. I don't know our tax money is going to.
Why do we have to pay federal taxes in that case?
I'm not sure. I'm sure they're going to kick that out at us at some point.
they like that.
Elon Musk promises transparency, and in the name of transparency, I want to mention something I said yesterday. I mentioned the DOGE website and where they're being transparent. I was actually looking at a not official website because it ends up that you have to spend a lot of time to find the official website, and when you get to it, up until yesterday, it was just an image. It was not clickable. And now it tells us that spending, you will see it soon, receipts coming soon, no later than Valentine's Day. So my point holds up in regards to the lack of transparency, but there is an official site if you can find it. That's my point.